So this is the second video talking about what dot watching will look like for Expedition Ozarks 2024. Some of you might have seen the previous video I posted about an introduction for adventure racing and expedition racing. If you haven't seen that video and you're not familiar with this sport, I recommend going and watching that first so that you can get a sense of how all of this works. But this is the video specifically for how you can follow along on the race this year. I pulled up the tracking from Expedition Ozarks from 2023, from last year. So this will give us some of the basic idea of what everything will look like if you want to follow our team. So when you pull up this link that'll be sent out, it'll be enabled tracking / Ozarks 2024. A very similar format will show up. The only thing that'll be different is that before the race starts, you're not going to be able to see any of the information on the map about where the checkpoints and the transition areas are. So the map will be there, but it'll just be blank. It might have a dot here for where the start is. But that's going to be it because the course is secret until the race starts. And we get handed our maps to start planning out our course only a few hours before the race. So once that happens, then they'll update this map and you'll start to be able to see where the checkpoints are and what the course looks like. So if we zoom out for this race last year, you'll kind of get a sense for where everyone was headed for that race. You'll see firstly that all of these different sections are coded in different colors. What that signifies is what sport you're doing for those legs. So for instance, you see the blue here, you're obviously on the water, so that's going to be a paddle leg for this race. Red represented a biking leg, and then the green leg was, or the green color was for a trekking leg. So you can kind of see how this course was laid out last year, that there's the start finish. There's, looks like there's a bike leg here with maybe a short trek here, and then you're headed over to the paddle, then you do another trek, then you're going to a bike, then you're going to a paddle, then to another trekking sort of loop, and then that's kind of how it's all laid out. The dots that you see those are the checkpoints. And so like for this leg, the experience would be doing a paddle leg. Then you get to this orange dot, which is a transition area. So you see that says TA10 and TA11, which means the reason it's both TA10 and TA11 is because probably what you do is you go out and you do this trekking loop, and then you come back to the same TA and then get on your bikes. So it was a paddle to the transition area. Then you go out on this green trekking leg. Then you get back to the transition area, get on your bikes, and then you start this bike leg. So you'll see when the race starts, the teams will be spread out all along this course, and then you'll see them honing in on these checkpoints. So, you can zoom in really close and you'll see the teams coming through and sort of wandering around and trying to sort of land on that checkpoint. So this was a pro CP, and so that means that for this race, it means it's optional, and that the pro teams are the ones probably mostly going to be aiming for those because they're trying to clear the course and get every checkpoint. So the numbers, so this would be leg 6, checkpoint 8, and it's a pro checkpoint. So going back to the start here, when the race gets going, you'll see that all of the teams are represented by these numbers, and I'm showing all the teams at the start here. Oops, and oh, go away. So once the race starts, you'll see all the teams then sort of spread out here. For this race, because it is over, what I can do is go up to this little clock looking thing, this timer button, and I click on that. And then what that does is it shows the timing. And so I can go in and play the race through from last year. So I hit the play button, and then you'll see all the teams will start to spread out on the course. So this is kind of what it'll look like. Obviously, when you replay it, they have it it's very sped up. So we won't be moving as fast as all that. But as the race goes on, if you click that button, even if we're in the middle of a live race, you can then move this forward and backward and kind of keep track of where we've been and where we're going. And so that gives you an option to do something besides just see where we're at in that moment. If you've been sleeping overnight and you want to see what we did overnight, you can then click the button, and then you'll have an opportunity. If the team is 38 hours into the race, then you'll be able to go backwards and sort of say, okay, they were here and they were here and they were here. And see kind of how we were navigating getting to each checkpoint and where we got lost, or what that looks like, where we were sleeping, things of that nature. So that's kind of how that works. As you can see, when the race is going through, the teams are all spread out, and it can be kind of tricky to track particular teams that you're wanting to see. So if you go over to the team list, which is under this participants tab. For instance, if I wanted to check out Bend Racing, I can click on their name. They were actually the team that won the race last year. They're very competitive. You'll see the team photo, some information, and then down here, you'll be able to see that they started Monday at 7 a.m. with the rest of the teams, and then you'll start to be able to track where they're at in the race. That, okay, they were at leg 3, checkpoint 1, and then, you can see the splits in between checkpoints, and then the total race clock, and so you have all that information available, where they went for the pro points, where they were at the TAs. These are the leg 4, checkpoint 3 is mandatory, so that all that information will be there. So as you can see, there's a lot of checkpoints to hit in a race that's this long. And if you only want to watch that team, because again, there can be a sort of big blob of teams that it's hard to sort of sort through everybody. If you only want to watch that team, what you can do is go over to this eye icon. And if you click on that, and then you click only show watched. Oops, I didn't click it. There we go. You click only show watched, and then it will only show you that team or those teams that you want to have on your sort of watch list. So then if I were to press play here, it's only going to show me Bend Racing moving throughout the course. And then sometimes it'll also show like media people for some reason. But it's a lot easier to track just 1 or 2 teams if you hit the only show watched button. So, and if you want to get rid of that, you just click it again and it'll show you all the rest of the teams. And then if you don't want to watch that team anymore, you just click that eye again. So, and then you'll see the teams moving through the course. The other cool feature on dot watching that you can do if you would like to is you can leave what's called trail mail. So if you go up to this button, it'll scroll you down and you can see that people have left messages on the dot watching, saying you guys are doing great, and you got that checkpoint and well done. And so this race is obviously over, so there's no place to leave trail mail. There's no sort of option for leaving a message, but when Expedition Ozarks starts, you will have an opportunity to do that if you want to. Because we're not allowed technology for the race, we often don't see trail mail until afterwards, but I have been on races where volunteers, when you get to a transition area, will like read out your trail mail, which is super cool. That's been awesome the couple of times that's happened. I don't know if that'll happen for this race, but it always means a lot to me when people leave trail mail. It feels like super exciting and super cool to know that people were watching us as we went along. So if you'd like to do that, that's available. Again, that's that envelope button there. And then that gives you all the information you need to know about each team. Another feature that might be helpful if you're wanting to get really super nerdy about how this all works is you can go up to the info button, and there you will have the option to click on the racer maps and the racer book, and that will show you exactly what we've been given a couple of hours before the race starts. So that'll take you to a page where you can look at the exact maps that we're getting for that race, and you can sort of say, okay, like how would I work this out, and how would I know where to go, and what are they seeing versus what we're seeing, on the tracking map. And so if you want to get, really invested, you can go and look at all the maps that we're going to get. And then the racer book is basically a rule book. And it also kind of gives specifics about the race course, where it'll it'll tell you sort of, okay, this area is off limits, so you need to cross such and such highway at this point, and or on this leg you have to do all the checkpoints in order, and this leg you can do them all in whatever order you want to. So that sort of just gives you more specifics, and can be helpful if you see a team doing something you're not expecting them to do. Like, why did you guys go that direction? It could be because there's something in the racer book that says, oh, you're actually not allowed to go, in this area, which would have been something you would assumed would have been obvious to do. But sometimes the racer book, when you look back, it's like, oh no, they weren't allowed to go to that area. So that can sort of help if you're curious about like, why is this happening that way? Sometimes there's some information in the racer book that explains it. This leaderboard and time adjustments and stuff, that's obviously because this race is from last year, so that won't be there. But other than that, those are kind of the main features that I think are most important for dot watching. If you scroll over the names, you can sort of see which team is where. Again, the colors are coded for checkpoints and then transition areas, and in terms of what leg you're on. So if we scroll out, you can kind of see the massive distance that's going to be covered for this race. I think that they said that this race is going to be somewhere around 350 miles. I think is sort of the general outline. So we've got 5 days to do it. So it will be a very, very long 5 days. We do plan on sleeping at some point, but we're still sorting out when. So I hope that gives you guys some good information about how the dot watching works. Our team name for this race is Adventure Enablers / Enabled Tracking. It's going to be me, Mary, and Joe, and we're really psyched that some of you are interested in following along. It's much appreciated, and I hope it's an enjoyable experience for you guys watching at home. So definitely wish us luck, and thanks again for watching, and we'll see you when we get back from this awesome adventure.